You may question, is God real? Can you imagine if a lawyer was put on that task to find out whether God was real in his life? It actually happened. And that's my next author. He wrote the book, Why God. William Pardue is here. We are so excited to talk to you, William. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
So this is
I'm
really
always excited
interesting.
to talk about this topic. So
I'm glad to hear that. You're a lawyer.
I
And my
am.
goodness, I mean, when I don't know about the listeners and viewers, but when I think of a lawyer, you're looking for the truth. How did you come to the point where you cared to know whether there was a God or not?
Well, I think like most people or the people you read about, you come up against a wall, right? No matter how smart you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter what kind of a personality you have, you're going to, if you live life fully, right, you're gonna run into a brick wall.
Mhm.
And it's going to be a brick wall that your intelligence can't get you over, your personality can't get you over it or through it. Um, so you're grasping, right? And then you start praying. that's what that's when the
I can
prayers start
hear
coming up.
people around the world going, "Yes, William, I've been there. Yes, you're
Well,
right."
we hopefully we all have, because that's where
Yeah.
we really find God, is when we hit that wall. Because we realize all of a sudden, my God, I'm helpless here. What am I
Mm.
going to do? And you remember all these things growing up about praying, and you think, you know what, maybe I should start praying. And I did, and it worked. I mean, it seriously worked.
And what it is your pursuit of trying to find out whether God was real or not.
Yeah, whether there was somebody there could help me. I needed help all of a sudden. I'm the kind of person who always does things. I don't need help from anybody. But
Mhm.
there was this point where I needed help from somebody, and the best place to go, in my mind, somebody that knew a lot more than I did, was to God.
You surrendered.
I did. You have to.
So what I'm hearing you say, William, is that you wouldn't have surrendered had you stayed on top of the mountain. It wasn't until you were rolling down painfully asking
Well,
God,
you don't
I
have
can't
to.
do this.
You,
Yeah.
you don't have to surrender, right? I mean, if
Right.
you're up there and you're the king of the world, and
Amen.
nothing's going wrong for you, or you don't admit anything going wrong for you, then you don't need God.
So share with me really the main message of the book.
Well, the main message of the book is number one, that there is a higher power out there that can get us over those parts of our life that are really difficult and
Mhm.
are sometimes challenging to even stay alive, right?
Mhm.
Why am I even living? What else is there? I mean, how many cars can you have? How many bank accounts can you have? How much money can you have in your bank
Mhm.
accounts? Those things don't do it. They
Mm.
seriously don't. At the end of the day, they do not do it. And and the one thing that does it is to know that there is a higher power out there, and that higher power resides within us. And it is because there are two parts to people, right? There's the temporal portion,
Mhm.
this 78-year life that we live, and then
Mhm.
there's the eternal portion. I
Mhm.
wanted to know about that
Mm.
eternal part once I tapped into it.
So you've been referring a few times to a higher power, which brings up an interesting question because as you're searching and you're just looking for the truth, you are willing to accept whatever is revealed to you. Not only did you realize that there's a higher power, but you were led to Jesus, knowing that he was the way to God. I mean, there's a lot of different religions you could have landed on. Can
There
you
are.
kind of walk us through that process? How did Jesus meet you personally?
Well, it's funny, when I was young in Catholic Church, they were doing things in Latin back then,
Mhm.
and what I wanted to know was I was always fascinated by the statues in the church and Christ and all that,
Mhm.
and there was one sermon that was about Christ, and I thought, God, that guy was really cool. I mean, that man was, and because I was just a kid,
Sure.
right? And I thought, yikes. And they mentioned something about how God was perfect. And I thought to myself, or how Jesus was perfect. And I thought about myself. I thought, well, you certainly couldn't be Jesus because you've got scars, you've got this, you've got that, you're short, you're
Wow.
right. At the time, not knowing what perfect meant.
Sure.
But I think Jesus for all of us, and again, I've studied all the religions. So is the person we look to see how we are supposed to live our lives, right? And what happens if we do live our lives that way. But the lesson is also, look, life can be very difficult, and being a spiritual person, being a Christian person sometimes is way more difficult than just pushing the issue aside,
Sure.
because you're challenged more.
Yeah.
I think that God challenges all of us on a daily basis. Something traumatic comes into our lives, and how are we going to react to that? Are we going to react to that as a Christian, somebody who has faith in God, or are we going to react to it as a terrestrial human who's going to try to concoct some solution to that problem? And there's a big difference between the answers to those and what the solutions are. But I can tell you this, that since I wrote this book, my life has just become so much better, just so much fuller,
In what
so
way?
much more loving and compassionate, caring. Because I mean, everybody knows lawyers, right? They have such a bad reputation. I mean,
Right.
I could
Right.
tear anybody apart on the stand.
Sure.
There's,
I
because
so appreciate your honesty.
I mean, it's just who we are. We
Sure.
want to win. We want to
But
get
it
to the truth.
changed you. It
Oh, of
it
course it
changed
did.
it.
It has. I'm a different lawyer now than I was 10 years ago, a better one. And
Wow. William, I want to talk about the proof of God that you found. Will you
okay.
share about that? What proof did you find? Was it just very
Well,
personal that you felt I'm speaking to you and that he led you? I mean, there again, I go back to how many hundreds, thousands of religions you could have landed on. What brought you to Christ? What was that proof?
well, number one, I think every religion has their prophet. They have somebody that they look
Mm,
to that is their direct link to God, or they call
mhm,
God. I think Jesus is just the person who right? I mean, it could be the
mhm,
person living next door.
mm.
Um, and just the message that he gave to the world
Yeah,
by the suffering that he had to go to, by his death and what that resulted in, the
mhm,
resurrection. I mean, it's
mhm.
all there.
Yeah, yeah,
It's all right there.
yeah.
And he's just, with his life, he's showing you what we can all do
Mhm,
if we can become more like him.
mm.
And that's the message from him. And that's what I get every time I think about it.
Do you
I need to be that good. I need to be that.
he's my mentor, he's my model, he's my North Star, yeah.
Of course, of
Do
course,
you feel like do you believe that humans are longing, that they intuitively know that God is real and that they're looking for this power that's over them?
absolutely. I think everything we do, whether we admit it or not, is a search for God. Whether you're a
Hmm,
scientist or not. And I just wanted to read you a couple of things from, number one, a spiritual perspective. I'm not sure if you want to hear what the Buddha had to say about uh,
okay,
spirituality. Very short, but I
sure.
think it's everything that we all believe. And his as a spiritual person, he said, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life.
Mm,
And we try to live without a spiritual life, right? We
yeah,
try to make it all material, that all these
yeah,
material things that we have are going to solve our problems, and they're not. They're really not.
no. And, I mean, there's lots of Buddhas, there's lots of prophets, and I don't know if
There
you wanna
are.
call them that, or teachers, but they're not God.
They're
Jesus
not.
is God. Yeah,
They're not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We need we need God, and God loves us, right? I mean, that's kind of the full circle story.
Well, he certainly acts like he loves us. So
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
just because he responds to us, and and I mean, he just changes your life. There's no other way to put it.
Hmm.
just by allowing him to express himself through you, to manifest himself through you. It changes your life. And I
Do
wouldn't
people
trade that
do
for anything. You
do
could
people
offer
see
me
the
a
change in
trillion.
you?
Yeah, they do,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, they do. And they comment on it, because there was a point in my life where I was not a very compassionate person. I was just, you know, just black and white. Either
Mhm,
you are or you're not.
mhm,
And if you're not, just leave me alone. But
mhm.
you have to be able to reach out to those people who are not spiritual people, who are not Christians, who are not believers in God. And you have to understand that the only reason they are there is because they're ignorant. I mean, you hear a lot of this with educated people talking about how Christians are just ignorant. They're buying this story. Well, that's ridiculous. The only person that's ignorant is somebody who does not believe that there is a higher power that created this universe, right? There has to be. And then because I'm the person, I want proof. Prove it to me. Show me. It's like the old movie. Show me the money. This is
Yeah.
show me the God. Show me the power. Show me the joy. Show me the love. That's what I wanted to see, and that's what I saw. That's
William,
what he showed me. He
we
showed
could
me what
go
I needed
on.
to see.
I absolutely am enthralled with this interview, and I'm telling you that the idea that this is coming to an end already is so heartbreaking to me. I have a ton more questions, but, where can people get a hold of you if they go, "You know what? That's somebody I can really relate to. I wanna talk to William or at least get his book." Where can people get a hold of you and a hold of your book?
They can get a hold of me at my email address,
Okay.
if that's appropriate to
Yeah,
say.
please do. Please share that.
Okay. And that is Pardue, Parduesvv as in Victor at yahoo.com.
Very good. And we want to thank EC Publishing for making this interview possible. William, I think that your story is absolutely amazing, and I'm fighting back tears our whole interview because it's so profound and it's so special how God reached out to you at your low, one of the lowest times in your life. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to be vulnerable and share that. Thank you.
Well, what happened to me was amazing. I still can't get over it. But
Got to read the book.
you don't have to
Read the
read the
book.
book. Don't even have to read the book. You just find God, and
Wow.
you allow him to come into your life, and everything's going to change.
William, thank you for sharing your story, and we'll
You're
talk
welcome.
again.
Thank you for having me.